Hello people, we are Tottenham TV back here for another match reviews. Spurs beat Brighton by 2-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Obviously, we're going to be going through the match review, player ratings, 5 takeaways, and then we'll go and see how the internet did react to the game yesterday. But in terms of the match review, we don't make it easy for ourselves here at Tottenham Hotspur, do we? It's another late show at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which, you know, following on from the Sheffield United game, scoring in the 100th minute, the Liverpool game scoring late into stoppage time that day as well. And then this game against Brighton in the 6th minute or 97th minute of 6 minutes added on at the end of the game. And, you know, at the start of the game, we came under real pressure from Brighton. They gave us a bit of a footballing lesson in those first 25 minutes. We just couldn't seem to get the ball off them. We were making mistakes. Van de Ven was losing the ball high up the pitch, which led Brighton onto a chance where Vicario saved well from Danny Welbeck, and Bentancur was losing the ball on the edge of the box, which resulted in the penalty that Van de Ven gave away. But those first 25 minutes, I mean, Brighton did school us a little bit, didn't they? Yeah, and they're a very good footballing side. And you're looking at teams in the Premier League, one of the best teams who are able to play through an opposition press. It is Brighton. This is what I was saying in the preview. They want you to press you. They want you to come and press them so they can play around you. I had a bit of a worry in the preview that they are going to be waiting for us. They do know how we're going to play, and that they want us to play how we're going to play. And you got to remember, De Zerbi has been at this side now for well over a year. They're more settled than us. This is just the truth. Even though they're less quality, obviously individually we got better players. In terms of building up their system, their way of playing, they are more settled. It's more ingrained in them. They've had that kind of coaching for about 18 months now. So you can see they're very much well in tune, well oiled, and it was very, very difficult in the first 25 minutes for Spurs to kind of impress themselves on the game. Brighton were just keeping the ball so effectively. They were exploiting our backline because they know we're going to take risk, and when they beat our press, which they were able to do fairly comfortably in the first 25 minutes, they found all that space in behind. And not only that, but their pressing structure was also very difficult to contain, and it led to, as you say, Van de Ven losing the ball. Bentancur, who just wasn't at his sharpest in that first 45 minutes, let's be honest. He was looking to dribble his way out of trouble and getting caught as well, and it led to sustained bits of pressure, which, if it wasn't for Vicario, I mean, we were 1-0 down due to the penalty, which I look back at it, I don't know if it's a penalty. I think it was a soft one. I actually think Welbeck lands on Van de Ven. I've seen it back again. I actually don't think Van de Ven fouls him, but it's one of those penalties where it's never going to get overturned. Yeah. It's a soft one. I think Van de Ven's unlucky, but you just got to take it on the chin. But it was kind of a reward for Brighton's good early pressure. They deserved to be 1-0 up. They went 1-0 up, and then obviously, if it wasn't for a really good Vicario save against Mitoma, it could have been worse. So we had to ride out that period, make sure the damage wasn't too bad. And luckily, they had 3 opportunities: a penalty, Welbeck's chance, Mitoma's chance. Apart from that, they weren't exactly peppering us, but it was just a case of we weren't getting in the game. It was very difficult for us to kind of hang on to possession. Yeah, absolutely. I thought Mitoma was giving Porro a torrid time, to be honest, on that side of the pitch. Yeah, he was. I mean, the way that he can just take the ball down with that one touch is he's just such a classy player, Mitoma. And I was a bit in awe watching him with that first touch yesterday, and Porro found it really hard to deal with him, really hard. And you expect that though, don't you, with a player of Mitoma's quality, especially with what we know Porro is. But I thought after those first 25 minutes, we did kind of stem the tide. We were starting to get our own chances. Richarlison had a really good chance, didn't he, going one-on-one with a brilliant through ball from Maddison. I felt with Richarlison in that moment, like, instead of trying to dink it into the far corner, why didn't he just fake that shot and try go around the keeper? I thought that was probably the best move to do. Yeah, I think so. That was probably our best chance of the first half. It was a really good opportunity for Richarlison. By the way, an unbelievable outside of the boot through ball by James Maddison to play him in as well, which took about basically 5 players out of the game with that one pass. It was exceptional for Maddison, who I thought throughout the game was buzzing around and looking pretty good, to be honest. But yeah, Richarlison, he didn't ever really look quite confident in that moment, which is weird considering what good form he's in. And he did try and slide it past the keeper. He had a number of finishes which he probably could have done. I would have gone probably in that position. The keeper was in a very hard position to try and find an angle to find the corner, so probably going around the keeper would have been better. But
No, he went for the chance. It happened. He missed, and I wasn't a big fan of Werner's follow-up either. I thought he went.
That was a lazy follow-up.
Yeah, he should have. He could have taken a touch. He could have made a much better chance. But he kind of just went for it first time, pretty carelessly.
Drab shot, wasn't it?
And to be fair, I thought, as you say, for all the talk of how bad our first half was, which we were bad at the start, for the last 15 minutes or so, we were definitely on top, and we were definitely pushing for that equaliser. Now, if that half would have gone on for a bit longer, maybe we would have got one, because we were pressing them high. Pretty much what I said in the preview, which we didn't capitalise in the game of the Amex. We're actually winning the ball up high up in their third quite often, but not taking advantage of it, not fashioning good quality opportunities. We did fashion a few opportunities, but a lot of the time it was wasteful. A lot of the time we were being a bit careless in the final third. Obviously, Kulusevski had a chance when Richarlison played him in. Richarlison had that chance on the breakaway when he carried the ball from the halfway line all the way to the edge of the box, and then screwed up his final pass as well.
There's a couple of moments like that from Richarlison though in the first.
But he did
half.
Also set up another chance for Maddison, so he ends
hot and cold with
he ends up setting up two chances. I thought he played pretty well. I know he screwed up a couple of times, but can't get it right every time. And I thought overall I was pretty happy with how he was playing. He was setting up chances, he was getting chances himself, he was causing a nuisance.
He was working so hard for the team, as he always does. Richarlison. I mean, the guy just never stops running, never gives the centre backs a moment's rest, does he? You need to be on high alert at the moment when Richarlison's on the pitch. And half time comes, and I think Brighton go into the lead, and deservedly so. As much as we did come back into the game in those last 15-20 minutes, I did think Brighton were good value for their lead, I would say, at half-time.
They were the better team, but you look on the facts, we probably created as many chances as they did, and if it wasn't for the penalty, probably was a difference in terms of the quality of chances. So yes, they were, in terms of like the eye test, general play, how they were passing it around, looking sharp, they were the better team. But in terms of just purely chances created in that half, it was fairly even.
The way they were keeping that ball in those first 25 minutes, I was like, what the hell? We just can't get a foothold in this game. They were passing it around us. They made it look easy at times to play it around us in those first 25 minutes. And yeah, look, credit to Spurs, because we dug deep and we came back into the game, and we ended that first half probably the better team. And I think second half as well, we came out and we looked much better in that second half. In those first 20 minutes, we were the ones camped in the Brighton half. We penned them in a little bit. We started to create a few chances, and we got the reward through that goal.
Yeah, and I think we started with a lot of intent. Brighton, I don't know whether it was because they were just sitting back and trying to protect their lead, and they were dropping off, or what it was, but Brighton just didn't come out in that second half in the same team. They weren't passing it around in the same way. They found it very, very difficult to get in a half, and maybe that's just because we upped our intensity. You saw Romero taking more risk with his pressing into the midfield, and there was even one occasion he found himself on the right wing, and he was kind of becoming like a facilitator in that way. We were just a lot more aggressive in that second half as we started, and 100% when we equalised, it definitely had a sense of it being coming at that point, and it was a really great equaliser, by the way. Bentancur, who we mentioned, had a pretty poor first half, and got caught a couple of it on occasions, but in the second half, he was very important to that goal. He kind of takes three players out of the game with a good piece of play. He gets a bit of luck because he actually gave the ball away and won it back, but plays out to Kulu, and Kulu finds a wonderful through ball to Sarr, who obviously looked fine. Rishi went off the post and fell back to him, and it wasn't an easy finish.
Underrated finish.
Yeah, you can say it's an open goal, but really tight angle on his weaker foot as well, and it comes at him very quickly. He has to react really quickly to score that. So it was a great run as well from Pape Matar Sarr deep from midfield. He's so good at those lung bursting runs, like no one could get near him, and it was a reward for, first of all, Tottenham's really positive start to the second half, but also Sarr himself. I thought in the second half he started like a house on fire. He was like unstoppable in that period.
So
and
good to have
it was a great goal.
So good to have him back, isn't it, Pape Sarr? Because I thought he was our best player in the first half as well, and second half he just took it up another level as well. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, Pape Sarr. But it was a strange one because those subs were getting readied before we scored that goal. We score that goal, Kulusevski obviously central to it. And I thought as well, Kulusevski, as much as I thought he was a bit poor in the first half, he was growing in the second half. And he was involved in the goal. He had another few moments as well where I felt like he had the beating of Estepinian in that second half. And Bentancur as well started to grow a bit in that second half, and you saw a bit of what he's about, what we know and love from Bentancur, being silky, being able to work in those tight spaces, being a bit press resistant as well. And they both go off, which I felt it was a bit strange because they were both growing in the game.
Yes, it was strange, but you have to remember they both did very well for the goal and they were already stripped off when that goal scored. So Ange already planned to take them off, which maybe wouldn't have been such a controversial decision if that goal hadn't have gone in at the time. Obviously, the goal does go in. Maybe it changed it. I think it was still right to take Bentancur off, even though he was improving, because even in the moment when we scored, he did have to get a bit of luck because he gave the ball away and he had to win it back. So there was still indications he's not quite his best. So bringing Basuma on was the right decision. Taking Werner off for Son, obviously the right decision. I think Werner flat to deceive for a lot of the game. I don't think he had a particularly terrible game, but he was just very frustrating. He got himself, again, a lot of good positions, but that, that delivery, that opportunity to, show a bit of quality with his crossing, or he had one shot I think which got deflected wide, but didn't really do enough to tell me he was probably going to get a goal contribution in the last half an hour. So Son, taking Son off was bringing Son on was positive. That was a good move, but I did think the mistake was probably Johnson. Even it's funny to say that because Johnson ended up getting the winner, but I did think at the time Kulu was having a massive influence on the game, and also I feel like he was the only one as well, maybe partly Richarlison as well, but really making that ball stick in the final third. We were giving it to him and he was turning on Estepinian, he was keeping the ball, he was bringing other players into play, and he just got a brilliant kind of pre-assist/assist for Sarr's goal as well. Great through ball. So to take him off at that moment was odd. Obviously I can understand and just thinking, bring more energy, get more running in behind, maybe if you get to Johnson, he saw maybe that Kulu was having the beating of Estepinian, maybe Estepinian was getting tired, so he thought if I bring Johnson on, he can really have a run at him and cause him problems. But I think what we lost in Kulusevski was just that bit of guile, that bit of passing ability, because let's be honest, like Johnson would never have played that pass to Sarr, like those kind of moments. So that is what we lost with Kulusevski coming off. And I think maybe, I'm not saying it was totally the wrong sub overall, but maybe you could have left Kulu on for another 15 minutes, see how he does, instead of taking off at that moment. So
it's probably his best moment. In that 10, 15 minute, maybe even 20-minute period, it was probably his best moment in the last month or so, because he's been poor, Kulusevski, the last 3 or 4 games, to be honest. And yeah, that was his best moment, to be honest. So I thought it was a bit of a shame taking him off, but ultimately it led to the goal, didn't it? Because Brennan Johnson did score in the last minute, but I felt like after he made the changes, we had a bit of a period where Sonny looked so dangerous. Sonny came on and with his captain mentality, geeing up the fans, geeing up his teammates, and he looked on it from the start. It looked like angry Sonny, where he really wanted to make something happen. And for those first 5 minutes, we looked really dangerous. But then, I don't know what happened, but we just suddenly dropped off and then just let Brighton get back into the game.
Yeah, I think it was more Brighton changing mentality than ours, to be honest, because as you say, we were on top and Brighton it seemed as though they were going to their shell a bit, and then we made those subs. We had a good little spell, but then Brighton completely switched up their pressing structure. They went all of a sudden to a man-to-man pressing, and what we were doing, which was really frustrating me, is when we were trying to build up from the back in those moments, it seemed as though we stopped kind of moving off the ball, and we were kind of waiting for players to kind of pass. Like players were kind of waiting for the pass instead of coming looking for the ball and getting close to each other. And what it meant was, because we were waiting for it, when we were trying to play out from the back, and we weren't being aggressive, trying to get in front of our man and fight for the ball, Brighton seemed to up their intensity, and we didn't kind of match it in that period, and it just led to Brighton kind of getting first to every ball we were trying to play out the back, and that was very frustrating. In those moments, when when you're being man marked, you got to win your individual battles, and it kind of felt like we didn't know that's what we had to do. It kind of felt like we assumed we could still play our pretty football, we can still kind of pass it around and without any pressure, and we can play through Brighton. But what we had to do in that moment was really be up for the battle. You have to win your individual battle. So if a pass comes into feet, you have to battle for it, you have to shield it, you have to bring other players into play. We weren't doing it. We were allowing Brighton to kind of step in ahead of us, win the ball back very easily, and it led to quite a sustained period of pressure for about 15 minutes where Brighton were definitely on top, and they had definitely one big chance through Ansu Fati, which he should have scored. And then there was one as well, Buonanotte has a shot which deflected wide, which could have easily deflected into the back of the net. And at that moment, we were struggling. And at that moment, probably you're thinking, obviously a draw is a bad result, but at that point you're thinking, we might have to take a draw here because we could easily lose this. If anyone was going to score in those last 10 minutes, it did seem like it might be Brighton. So that was a worrying moment in the game. But we did end up finding that moment of quality. And you have to say, watching back for the goal we did score in the 97th minute, it's actually a really good team goal overall. Like, really great build-up, brilliant quick transitioning into Maddison into Richarlison. He holds the ball out really well, finds Sonny on the left, and an excellent ball across the face of goal for Johnson to score. And actually, maybe, in a weird way, the way Brighton were playing in that last 50 minutes, which actually put a lot of risk to the game, was to their benefit for the last 50 minutes, but it may be to their detriment in that one moment, because that was the moment we weren't able to wriggle away from them, and that meant there was loads of space to play in, and it ended up causing the goal. It
was massively against the run of play, though, that goal, wasn't it? I mean, but that's what happens when you bring on someone like Heung-min Son. You know, we were trying to get balls in the box like that all day with Timo Werner, to be honest, and we just couldn't do it, because especially in the first half, I felt like Werner had the beating of Lamptey as well. A number of times he beat him, and we had just terrible balls into the box. And then suddenly you bring on someone of world-class quality like Heung-min Son. It's no surprise that he's going to put in a on-the-money ball straight to Brennan Johnson right at the back post, and that's exactly what happened. And the subs, I felt like I felt like we had a massive drop-off when the subs came on after that sustained amount of pressure. But I do feel like the subs actually played well. Like Bissouma gave us a lot in that midfield. The amount of interceptions he was winning time and time again in the midfield, I thought he came on with some good mentality. Heung-min Son as well. Like we said, the man of the moment. You know, he comes on, provides those moments of quality, and we go on and win the game. And it was solely down to one counter-attack pretty much.
Yeah, and I agree with you. When the subs came on, in a weird way, it seemed for some reason to take a wind out of our sails after we were in the ascendancy. But it should have done the opposite effect, because we just got equaliser. The crowd are all G'd up because Son's just come on. He's making his return. Romero's going over to him, putting the armband on him. He's G'ing up the crowd. Like, we should be adding extra energy into the game. But it's because Brighton switched up.
Brighton, and we didn't respond to the game, though. Like Sonny crossing into Brennan Johnson.
And it's absolutely right. Obviously, Højbjerg ended up coming on, and it was interesting actually, because obviously I think Ange noticed that the subs come on, but we seemed to step our foot off the gas, and we really struggled to win the ball back after those subs came on. So he had Skip and Højbjerg ready to come on, and then Udogie kind of pulled up a bit. So he took Udogie off, and instead of taking Maddison off, which I think he was about to, he ended up taking Udogie off for Davis. And luckily for us, luckily for us, we kept Maddison on, because he had a massive part to play in that second goal. So that was really positive. So in a weird way, the fact that Udogie pulled up a bit and had a bit of cramp was actually to our benefit, because it meant Maddison stayed on, and he had a big part to play in that winning goal. So really great. And I think a lot of people I've been reading about our performance in the game being very negative, and I don't know. I don't feel as negative as a lot of people about our performance. Yes, a draw was probably a fair result on the balance of the game. Maybe we got a bit lucky to win, but Brighton are a very, very good team, one of the best teams on the ball in the league. You were not going to play that kind of quality on the ball every week when it's going to be that hard to get the ball off them. They were able to play for us quite well, but they only had 6 shots during the game. I know a lot of them were good chances, but Vicario pretty much didn't have a save to make in that second half. They only scored for a penalty, and when we were on top, I think we were much better than when Brighton were on top, if you know what I mean. I thought we were very, very good in our dominant period. And obviously, we had the quality to win the game right at the end, which you need to do when you come up against a very good team. And Brighton, before this game, had a record of 31 games unbeaten when they're winning at half times. It shows they're not easy to play against when they've got the lead. Yet we were able to overcome that and get the win. So as much as it wasn't our best display, we could have played better. I think under the circumstances, it was a really good win, and I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, look, it was a really good win, but I don't know. I feel like Brighton, when they were on top, they were just schooling us a little bit in terms of the way they were playing their football. And look, we played well. It was a very much a basketball game at times. Like, they had moments in the game, then we had moments in the game, then we had moments. Like, it just kept toing and froing in terms of momentum switches in the game. That's what it came down to. And it was probably, I think a draw was probably a fair result, to be honest. And I think if it finishes a draw, neither side have complaints about it. I think if Brighton take away the 3 points as well, I don't think we're sitting here complaining about we got outdone there, or we were unlucky to lose that game. I just felt Brighton came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with a plan and nearly followed through with it, to be honest. And I thought we got a little bit lucky taking away those 3 points. I really did.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we didn't. I'm just saying we just for the credit you're going to give Brighton for when they're on top. You have to give us credit for when we were on top as well. And we had 16 shots, 6 on target. They only had 6 shots the whole game. We had more XG than them. I think overall we created more chances. I thought when we were pressing them, our press was a lot more dangerous than theirs was. Even though, and I think we actually probably defended better than them in a way compared to. How they played. So Brighton were great. Not going to take anything away from them. They definitely deserved something out of this game. But look, I think we just basically need the credit for how well we did play when we were on top. We did turn it around. We were 1-0 down and we had to stick with it and we regained control of the game. And we had to defend at times, and Brighton were coming at us, and when they're on the ball, they got great quality and it's very difficult to handle. But we were able to handle it. I know they missed one big chance through Fati, but other than that, they didn't create too many other big opportunities. So I think you've got to give us credit as well. And moments of quality, like at the end, it was a really good goal. You got to remember, we scored 2 good goals from open play. Their only goal was a penalty. So that goes to show the footballing quality maybe between the sides, even though on the eye test, Brighton had a very good moments in the game where they were playing for us. I think overall we overcame it. And I think, I'm not going to say we definitely deserved the win, but I don't think we were as bad as a lot of people are complaining around. People complaining about. Some people saying we were terrible. We were really lucky to win. We should have lost, all that kind of stuff. I just see it a bit differently. I think a draw would have been a fair result, but I think I'm very happy we got the win.
But there's one thing you got to say about this team is, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, Sheffield United now, Liverpool, Brighton, keep going till the end, finding those late moments in games, those clutch moments where you take home 3 points from Liverpool, Sheffield United and Brighton after 95, 96 minutes. I mean, what is it about this team? We just never stop. That's the Ange motto, isn't it?
Well, he said we're going to concede goals late and we're going to score goals late, and that's exactly what happened in the last 2 weeks. Pretty much, last week we conceded, this time we scored. That's just how it's going to be under Ange rule, especially right now as we're kind of still early in the project. We're not quite a well-oiled machine just yet. We're still finding our way. Players still getting used to it, and it's leading to a lot of drama, a lot of chaos in the latter stages of games. This time we were on the right end of it, and I'm enjoying every second of it. It just kind of feels like you can never leave a game early at this point. But I think, obviously, right now, games are going down to the wire and there's a lot of late drama. But hopefully, once the team's more settled, those 2-1, those games when we're winning 1-0 and it's down to the wire, hopefully we're winning 2 and 3-0 instead, and maybe it'll be less of an issue later in games. But what's important is when we are down or we are drawing, we never stop going to the last minute, and it's paid off a few times, and that's the mentality of Ange Postecoglou.
Do you think now, looking at the outlook of the table, we are in the top 4 with Villa to play later on today? Do you think we're favourites for the top 4 now?
Yeah, I would say before the game we were. I think Villa are slowing down. I really believe that. When you look at Villa, when they play badly and they're losing like 3-1 at home to Newcastle and things like that, I just think they look a lot worse than we do when we're not picking up results. At least when we're picking up results, looks like it's a lot more likely for us to get to be in the game. I feel like for Villa, when they're losing, they look like they're always second best. They're very heavily reliant on Watkins. You saw Son went out the team, and obviously we suffered, but I don't think we would suffer as much as if Villa had to have without Watkins. They're very, very reliant on him, and they're very reliant on Bailey keeping up his exceptional form as well. When he starts to slow down, we'll see how they get on. And they're more of a pragmatic team, and it means that when they're getting stifled, it's very difficult for them to maintain kind of their offensive threat. Whereas because we're all in an offensive team, once we get back in the game, we're always looking likely to get goals. So look, I'm sure Villa are going to run us close, and they're a very good team, don't get me wrong. But with European football coming back for them, with their form slowing down, with their heavily reliant on certain players, I just don't see them keeping it up. And I think if anyone's going to last the distance, I think Tottenham have far more chance.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you've also got to look at it with the players coming back now. Bissouma back in the squad, which is going to be a major plus for us going forward. I think he has to start in the next game, in my opinion. And Heung-min Son, he's going to be the difference, Sonny. He came on, provided that moment of quality yesterday. it's so understated how much he's been missed in this period that he's been at the Asia Cup. And you're looking at the options that Ange Postecoglou has to the options that Emre has. Like you mentioned, if Ollie Watkins gets injured, they don't really have anyone to step in. We've been like kind of getting through things without Heung-min Son. So I think that's the difference, isn't it? Because we've got options and they don't.
Exactly. You look at our forward line. Look at Villa's forward line. Right? They have Watkins, Diaby and Bailey. A lot of the time, they're only starting 2 of them as well.
Yeah.
We've got, if you look at our forward line, we have so many more options as well. You look in midfield, when they're lacking creativity, like there's not really a midfielder there who you're thinking someone's going to pick a lock here. Like when they're behind in games, you got Kamara, Louise, McGinn, Tielemans. I mean, Tielemans is a good technical player, but apart from him, you look at that player and it's like, unless they're in the lead, unless they get an early lead and they kind of playing on the transitional counter, like when the teams are sitting back against them, they don't have that quality to pick the lock as well as we do. We have Madison, Kulusevski, Giovanni Lo Celso to come on as well. And then obviously we're chock-a-block of talent in the forward line. So, and also, not only that, but our players are a lot more versatile. Kulusevski can move into midfield, Son could go up front.
Got a much stronger squad.
It's just a lot more versatile, whereas them, it's like, what you're going to get. Bailey on the right, Watkins up front, maybe with Diaby sometimes. It's just a lot more predictable, I feel, with Aston Villa. And look, they're a very aggressive team. They're very good at what they do, but is what they do sustainable? And I think their form since beating City and Arsenal shows to me that I don't think it is.
I agree with that. Is there a bit of a worry, Manchester United, at the moment? If they win today, 6 points behind?
I mean, right now we're 9 points. They have to win that game.
It's Villa United, isn't it? Later today.
It's Villa United. So, am I worried about them? No, I don't think they'll have the consistency either. Look, they're coming back into it a bit. They're starting to show improvements. But even in those wins, apart from West Ham, they won fair and square, good win. But the Wolves game, even when they were playing well and on top, and should have seen out that game, they're still vulnerable. They let go of a 3-1 lead with 10 minutes to go, and it was 3-3 up until Kobe Mainoo scored. So, I don't know. I don't see Man United as a team right now showing me they got the consistency to last the distance, unless there's a massive upturn in the second half of the season and Ten Hag really turns it around and they start putting consistent performances we haven't seen all season. Then I don't think United can last the distance. And I'm also looking at them. It's like Højlund's come back into form. Rashford's maybe starting to play a bit, but I don't know. I still feel I prefer our options at the moment.
So you want Man United to win today?
A draw would be nice.
A draw would be nice.
Draw would be nice.
I'd agree with that. But look, that's our match review and a bit of look forward into the top 4 race.